Privacy.com. Privacy gives you control over who can charge you and how much. Create virtual payment cards for a one-time purchase or subscriptions directly from your browser. Okay, set spending limits, pause, unpause, and close cards anytime you want. Use privacy.com/phildaru.com to check out more details on that.
Welcome to the Daru Strong Podcast. Daru Strong Podcast.
Let's go. Mind over matter. Put your mind somewhere else and keep going. That little voice in your head is trying to stop you from getting to where you want to be. Be successful and keep moving forward.
With your host and world-renowned strength and conditioning coach, Phil Daru.
It's Aspen Lad. How are you today?
Pretty darn good. just sitting here taking it all in.
Yeah. So, thank you for coming, by the way. I appreciate you. Bring a big crowd too, you know. And you brought Mr. Dean Thomas, by the way. Always a pleasure.
Oh, so you came for me, not for you?
I mean, I think he came for you.
I came for you. I got your socks on. I'm wearing your socks.
Listen,
Thank you.
I'll tell you a story back in the day, and we'll go back further. But I want to get to know you a little bit more. So a lot of my listeners obviously follow the UFC. They watch fighters, but let's go back to the origin story, like how you started, not just in MMA, just in athletics in general. And you got a pretty interesting story. So. Let's see it.
Oh boy, all the way back to the beginning. Beginning of time here.
Beginning of time.
Okay. Athletically, I've always done something. I was in ballet for 5 years when I was pretty little. After that, my family moved to the mountains when I was like 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. And from there, I got into distance running. Mm-hmm. I just enjoyed it. Always liked that the aspect of just moving and doing something. I've always needed to move in some way. Mm-hmm. So did that up until I was about 14. I was really, really shy, introverted. And I really wanted to do something where I learned how to defend myself, really. It wasn't like I know what MMA is. I had no idea what it was.
Sure.
So I just wanted to learn self-defense. I went to a gym, and it ended up being an MMA gym. Mm-hmm. And then within like a week, I realized what that was and what that meant. It's like, all right, I want to fight. So I knew as soon as I got old enough, I'd want to try this. I love the competition aspect of it. And I remember watching a chick that had been there for 8 months, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's so good. She's like doing all these things. Like, I want to be there. So that's kind of how I got started with finding out what MMA was and getting into it. And I just fell in love. I fell in love with the grappling arts of it, the grappling aspect.
I was going to ask you, which one did you fall in love with first?
Yeah, definitely that. So I probably didn't know how to throw a proper jab until 3 or 4 fights into my Miami career. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had an idea, but looking back, nah. But so that's kind of the very basics of how it got started.
Are you in the gi now, or are you just doing no gi?
I've never done gi,
really?
So I've dropped into a couple classes.
So he would have made you get in the gi. See that?
Yeah.
You got to get in the gi.
Privacy.com makes it super easy to manage your financial lives online while keeping your most important information secure. By generating virtual numbers, Privacy.com masks your bank account and information so you never have to worry about giving it out to people you do not know. Head to Privacy.com/PhilDaru and sign up for an account. New customers will automatically get $5 to spend on their first purchase. Go to Privacy.com/PhilDaru, PhilDaru, and sign up now.
Oh, I hate it. It slows everything so down.
That's right.
Somebody just hang on to you.
But isn't that what you want, though? Like, at the end of the day, like in any sport endeavor that you are in, you want to be able to slow it down so that you can process everything. You don't want things to be fast where you can't control it. True. Being slow helps you to control it and to learn why things work the way they work.
True. Yeah.
It does, but at the same time with MMA, it's like wrestlers always wear their shoes, but if you're a fighter, you can't really wear them in the ring. You have grips that exist that don't exist otherwise.
For sure, but principally, so the physicality of it is different. Mm-hmm. The same as with anything else. Like if you box with boxing gloves, if you wrestle with wrestling shoes, it's different. But the principles of doing jiu-jitsu and being able to apply a technical aspect to a situation is the same. That's why we do it.
We're kind of, it's funny because you guys are almost debating on the same thing in a sense. You're just trying to get better, right?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, you're talking more specific, he's talking more general. but you're able to mold that together. And it's the same thing what I do with the strength and conditioning. Like, we're not just only going to do things that are specific to the fight game, because we have to build up all these general attributes, right? So as you get in the gi, you get to slow things down. You get to learn your movements a little bit better. I think it gets your defense a lot better too as well.
Yeah, it does help your defense, like from a physical perspective.
And listen, I'm not a gi guy, so I'm not all on his side. But what I will say is that when he did tell me to get in the gi, it did help a lot, you know. But going back with the ballet and you did long distance running. Now, what was your longest run that you've done?
I only did up to half marathons. I mean, I've done more since then, just for the fun of it. Like, all right, let's go see how far we can go. But that was my distance.
Did you feel like that helped you at all in your training for MMA?
I think having any kind of background, not necessarily the running, but just the very beginnings of the ballet, the structure.
Sure.
I don't care what it is. I think kids need to do some kind of sport growing up. It could be whatever. It could be some kind of ball. It could be ballet. It could be gymnastics. It just teaches you show up, work hard, be on time. So I think any kind of background is beneficial to when you eventually get into MMA.
I do believe like having a solid background in just athletics.
For sure.
You know?
I would think ballet would be very...
Ballet and gymnastics.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
I mean, the posture would be different because ballet is probably more linear in lines here, and fighting is more curved.
Yeah.
But just the fact that like being able to coordinate your body in those different ways. I mean, that's what fighting is coordinating your body to do what you want it to do. To do what you want. You ask your body to do something and it does it.
Yeah.
And nothing really exemplifies that like ballet.
True. Yeah, I think it's a good base, especially for young kids, when it comes to like gymnastics, ballet, stuff like that. Dancing in general, you know, proprioception. I'm not saying I'm a dancer or anything, but I can move a little bit.
No, I remember I used to watch you, you know what I'm saying? You get down at the club.
The club, the small club in Port St. Lucie. But yeah, so now transitioning, like, so when did you really make that leap into like really getting after it and going to pro ranks and so on and so forth?
So when I started, that was pre-women in the UFC. Like, there was no options for us. And it was just something where it's like, okay, I'm going to have a career, and then for fun, I'm going to go over here and fight. And as I kept going, I think I was getting towards the end of my amateur career. I was almost 20 at the time. I went pro like 2 days before my 20th birthday.
Okay.
But at that time, it was just when Ronda was coming in. And she breached the UFC. She brought women into it. And for me, it went from, this is going to be something I can do. This is my hobby, or this is my passion, but I gotta, you know, it went to like, this could be a career. So my mindset started changing around that time. And my first few pro fights, everything just kept getting better. It kept heating up. It's like, this could actually be a career path. And by 5 fights in with the Invicta, which is where I started, it was my first pro fight, my first 5, I kind of knew. By the time I got signed with the UFC, it was like, this is just, it's incredible. And everything else I had been doing had to go on the back burner because I was burning at both ends, basically. Sure. So I chose fighting. I chose to put all my attention there, and it's worked out well for me so far.
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you ever find like, I mean, this is, and I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way. She's like, oh, I'm nervous. No, but like as a female, right? As you were just talking about your story, like that wasn't that long ago, right? It's what I'm saying. Like that wasn't that long ago. Like me, I've been doing this since '95.
I was born in '95.
Right. So yeah, I've been doing this since '95. I know. But it's I know, right? They're all gray. But you know, to be in the position you're at in such a short amount of time and not having that much experience, it's a big expectation on you. Do you feel the weight of that expectation? Because there's a lot, they're asking you to do stuff that they would ask me to do, and I had, 15 years experience when I was doing it. You have like 4, you know what I'm saying? And do you feel the weight of that?
No, I've never looked at it that way. So it's like, from day one to now, I think it's been like 11 or 12 years. So if you look at it, totally, no, that's not a ton of time, but I've never sat there and reflected on it's like, this is so much in this period of time. It's always felt like stepping stones to me, one step at a time. So fought as an amateur, fought in Invicta, fights kept getting harder in Invicta, went to the UFC, fights keep getting harder in the UFC. So it's always kind of felt like one step at a time regardless to me. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
No, I mean it does, but I'm just saying. But even still, like just getting to the UFC, like amateur, Invicta, UFC. I mean, that couldn't have been that much time in between. And then but that's and UFC is the pinnacle of the sport.
Yes.
And you're in the pinnacle of the sport, and it's a big weight to carry.
Sorry. Let's see. I think I've been pro now for I'm almost 27, so almost 7 years. But I was taken out for almost 2 years by the knee. So 5-ish active years of being a pro.
Yeah, that's a big trajectory though. Starting from where you're at, and like starting from just a base level of pro, and then going into the UFC. That's what I know, that leap in every promotion, especially now when you look in the UFC, you go out there and you go to a live event. It's way different than your local regional scene fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not even in the same realm.
Exactly. So like I think you had to grow up fast in a sense, especially from a pro perspective. When that first fight, how did it feel? Like just stepping in the cage.
The first UFC one or the first pro one?
Let's go with the first pro one, then we'll go from there because it's two different, really different.
Or even the first amateur one. Gosh, the first pro one, it was super exciting, but it wasn't a new thing at that point because I'd been fighting. It was like my first pro fight was my 10th fight total.
Yeah.
And I'd done all kinds of other like jiu-jitsu things, so I was used to competition, but it's definitely different. So Invicta is a very good promotion. It's female only, but it's set up like a mini UFC if you've ever been to one. Mm-hmm. The way they treat you, the way they fly you out, the way you do the media, it's all very similar. It's on a much smaller scale. Mm-hmm. But it has that feel to it. So definitely a grander feel than obviously when you're in AMI. Mm-hmm. But it comes down to specifics. It's the same thing. It's what you've been training for. It's what you know how to do. So maybe going into your thinking like, oh wow, this is a new big thing, but it's not. It's the same thing that you've been doing.
Sure. I think that's kind of like a standard with a lot of the high elite level guys and girls is they're able to take all those that high stress environment and really hone in and still be able to produce performances that are obviously elite. So I think those are the ones that really take it to the next level. Am I right? Oh
yeah, for sure. And it's not even. That's a tough thing to do as well. Mm-hmm. And it's not even that these guys can do it every time. Like if you even just look at this past weekend, like with Cyril Gane.
Yeah.
Like here's a guy who I was like, man, this guy's cool as a cucumber. Mm-hmm. He's so composed. He never makes a mistake. But you saw him break in that fight.
Yeah.
After he got taken down, you saw him break. And then in the end, in the 5th round, where he probably could have just laid on top and may have won the round, he makes a mistake. Like he was making mistake after mistake. Mm-hmm. And those are mistakes that you don't make when you have experience. Mm-hmm. And you learn, now he got the experience, but you learn that through experience. Yeah. And that's the only place you can learn it is to get in the lights, mm-hmm. get in front of the people, and get that experience. I remember when George Masvidal and Anthony Pettis, they did a grappling match a week before George fought Ben Askren.
Yeah.
And I remember telling him, I was like, man, this is good that you can get in front of a crowd this close to a fight because like this is what you want. Like you just want experience in front of people. Yeah. And anytime you can gather that experience, it helps you. You can carry that with you.
True. Yeah. We used to do that too. We used to get all the people into the gym.
Yeah, for sure. Like have these, and that's why I got arrested. Throwing smokers. Yeah, but but again, like that wasn't for me. You know what I'm saying? Sure. That was to get experience. Like every fighter needs experience, and the more pressure you can put on them, the easier it becomes for them to deal with pressure at any level.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing, like I said, is if you can hone in on every little detail and still be skillful under the lights, it's like that's where true champions are born,
Some people are perfect and dial in every single time, and a lot of us, there's certain days where you're not completely dialed in, unfortunately, and that's another thing you learn over time, I think, and the more you compete, the better. Like, I don't know, some people feel it, some people don't. Like ring rust is definitely a thing for me, especially coming back from this. It's like it's been a really long time, and it's kind of hard to describe, but the lack of actual, like you can train all you want, but you need to be able to compete. You need the competition, you need people screaming at you. It's just, that is such a necessary component with what you're saying, like, and it gets harder, like, as you get older and more in sports, you're not doing 500 smokers. You're getting booked to fight, and then you're being careful in between. So it's like the things that you did as an AMI, it's like, I don't care, I'll go here, there, everywhere. the training gets so much more specific, and you'll have those brawls to the death, but it's less unknown, more we're going to the specific place, the specific person, and we're doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe.
No, for sure. Like when you make it to the bigger level, like you know exactly when you're gonna fight, and it's some cases you don't. But
yeah, you'll
for the most part, I know a lot of the regional guys are like, and they don't know if they're gonna fight today or next week
or who their opponent is. Yeah,
exactly. And
short notice.
Exactly.
Yeah,
fights might opponents may back out in the day of the weigh-ins.
Yeah.
But so what I did want to talk to you about, because we all had knee problems.
No kidding.
That's it. So what had happened with the knee? How did that go about?
So that was in 2020, and I was training for there's a couple fights then. I was supposed to fight Pena first. I was supposed to fight her in March, and she ended up pulling out. Trained for a couple weeks. They rebooked that fight, pulled out again, and then they booked me as Aerobic man. And I was preparing for the fight, and it was 2 weeks until, I forget which month, I think it was maybe I was supposed to fight her at the end of June. We were 2 weeks out, last really hard sparring session.
Yeah.
And I was stopping a takedown. It was against the fence, and my foot got caught, and my body got twisted. So foot was stuck, body twisted down, and I heard it pop. I saw it go. It was like, yeah.
It's always the last one too. It's always the last session.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you're in denial, but something really bad just happened.
Oh man, that's how it was. That's how mine was.
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
No, that was exactly it. And I'm like, my weight was super good. We were really close to the fight. We're leaving next week. It's like, okay, I don't need to do a shit ton of cardio. We can make this work. So for the next week, I tried to do everything that I could. And I remember a boxing session. I was trying to move on it, and it gave.
Yeah, buckled on you.
It's like, that's really not good.
Yeah.
So at that point, I had contacted UFC. I let them know, like, hey, something's going on. Can I go get a shot? Can I get a cortisone shot? So they booked him for a cortisone shot, and I went there, and the guy started poking around before he did it. It's like, nah, I'm not giving you a shot. You're going to go to MRI.
Yeah.
And then I got the MRI. He called me the next day. You tore basically everything. MCL, ACL, meniscus, hamstring, sartorius muscle.
Oh, that's crazy.
And everything went downhill from there.
Yeah. Well, it hit a small bump.
It did.
Let's put it like that.
I ended up immediately went out to Vegas, got booked for surgery, did like the prehab, which I think everybody should do.
Definitely.
So, and then a month later, I think it was like July 10th maybe, I ended up getting surgery. Yeah.
How long did it take you to you feel like, I know it's every year is like a full recovery, but how long do you think you were able to really fully go and train?
Fully? So we started, and I listened to my PTs religiously from the beginning.
That's good to know, because some people don't.
No,
I didn't.
I know you did.
You ever see my legs? They look like boiled chicken.
The burnt french fries.
No. So, my physical therapists are very good, and they cared a whole lot, and it was almost like another parent. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, all right. But I did all that. I started striking again, maybe 6 weeks later, but very, very light, very careful.
Hitting pads, bag work.
And all the rehab, strength conditioning, that was from day one almost.
Sure, yeah. That's the best thing that's the thing that you can do right away.
Yes.
You can control it, and it's like the first part of it. And when I tore mine, I was like, listen, I'm gonna start doing, quad tightening since I got out of the hospital. I was a little messed up though, because they gave me some pain meds, so I was a little woozy. But but quad sets, trying to get that full range, But for you, there was a lot more that got torn, so you can imagine. Yeah,
and it was doing really good for the first maybe 6 weeks, month, and then we hit some kind of snag, something got irritated, and I have never. It was extreme. It was probably more painful then than when I actually tore it.
Really?
It swelled up. It kind of looked like a ham.
Oh man.
It was horrible. That probably set me back about a month, and swelling eventually went down. Did what I could during the meantime, but there's ups and downs with it.
Sure. Yeah, I still get those aches and pains, and like I said, we were talking before, I still get inflammation when
Do you really? Because I be seeing you in your videos. You put a car on your back and
That actually is a real car. When I play cars, kind of move up. Yeah, it's one of them. You got fake plates. And
I
had to do that.
Yeah.
Still
But I don't know how you lift like that. I'm like, I can't eat. Goddamn.
I remember I tried to put a barbell on his back one day. And it just looked like it looked like he was on an earthquake. He was just going down.
You ever see when Bambi was born? I mean, his legs were shaking. That's how it happens when I lift weights.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Brand new baby.
Yeah,
that's what it was. And you still like that a little bit.
It's still like now. It's just more fat around it. That's it.
Yeah. So what are you doing as of now? We got a camera crew here, obviously. So what's going on? What are we doing with this man? What are we doing today?
I think you and I were both as surprised when we got here.
I mean, I'm always surprised. It's okay. I just run with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. I feel like I pretty much am. This is Live Trained, which is basically a platform for fighters. We do everything that we've been doing, all the media, all kinds of stuff, except you get paid for it. And it's really something where you could also connect one-on-one with people.
Sure.
So you could teach, that kind of thing. It's pretty darn cool, and it's an opportunity that I think would have been nice to have like several years ago for everybody coming up.
Yeah.
But they're pretty new and getting started, and I'm part of it.
That's cool.
And this guy is very involved.
Yeah. What you got going on?
I have no idea really what my role is within there, but yeah, I'm involved with Live Train. It just makes it very accessible for fighters and fans to get together, or people to link up with fighters, or coaches or whatever, to get access to people and just do your thing.
Nice. So one last thing. What do you see in the future? What do you want for the next, what is it, 2022 now?
It is.
What do you I know, right?
It's like we just skipped the last 2 years.
Yeah, basically. So what are you thinking? What's ahead for this year?
I just want to be able to have fun and truly enjoy it. Like, I'm booked to fight right now, and I am so excited. I honestly don't remember the last time I felt like this amped about it. And yeah, it's just have a good year, get to fight a few times, and really enjoy the moment.
Yeah, you need to. It's like one of the major things. Happiness is one of our major goals. This is the reason why.
Isn't that true? Like, but the thing is, like, fighters make it so difficult for themselves. They do everything to make everything so difficult, from the weight cut to like the stress of the training. I'm like, dude, just have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a job that you have to do, but it should be about fun, because when it's over, like, that's what you remember are the fun times.
Yeah.
Not the craziness.
Did you think that when you were fighting though?
Kind of, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I've had my moments.
Sure.
You know, that was the thing, is that when I was like on my own, doing my own thing, oh man, I was having fun.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was winning.
Yeah.
And then when I got, when I got people around me that maybe didn't understand me that much, and they were like so serious and like, wow, you got to do it this way. Then it wasn't as fun. I was losing more, and like it was but they put a lot of pressure, and it was awful.
It became a job.
Yeah, it became a job, and it was awful. So I was like, man, this whole thing should be about fun.
I think anything, man. Like, I'll do this for fun. You know what I mean? Like, and I remember you saying something like, I don't do everything for money.
I don't do anything for money. I do everything for fun.
I was just trying to be nice when you said that, but when you say anything, I'm damn, bro. No, but I get them though, man. Like, if I'm doing something that I truly cannot, like, at this point in my life, everything that I do has to have like some level of enjoyment, you know. And if I'm not doing that, then why am I here? Why am I actually, busting my ass to do these things, you know?
Now, did you feel like that before? Because I know a lot of people had these realizations like during the pandemic. Like when the pandemic hit, a lot of things for people were put into perspective. Like for me, I've always kind of felt that way. But I feel like a lot of people start, like during the pandemic, they were like mental health and having just more self-care. Was that for you as well, or was that just recent?
Man, honestly, you know me. I didn't really take too much, I guess, thought into. I didn't put too much thought into that. I opened up the gym in the pandemic, the new gym that I'm at now. So it wasn't really that. It was just more of like, all right, we're going to continue on to keep progressing, But I did find a level more so of enjoyment just being, I guess, older, kids, like, and just being like, listen, man, I got to really just stop worrying about so many unnecessary things and focus on the true task and what is my purpose. My purpose is, in all actuality, is to be happy in doing the things that I love to do while I'm doing it,
Especially when you got kids too. It's like you realize your purpose is to be happy and then also make them happy. Yeah. So, and then you realize, why am I arguing with this dude? He got nothing to do with nothing. So you stop arguing with people.
I think that does come with age too, and being wise and just being like, why am I wasting energy right now on just unnecessary things, How do you feel about that?
I am somebody where if it doesn't benefit me in some way, like even training wise, like I don't see a benefit to this. Like if this dude is arguing or being an ass, it's like it doesn't benefit me to engage.
Sure.
So it's like, we'll leave that be.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I'm not very confrontational outside of what I do.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice that with a lot of fighters? They're like non-confrontational?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why fighters fight.
Yeah.
Because that's their way of expressing their confrontation is to shut up and then physically do it, because verbally they can't do it. Verbally, no, they don't really, unless you're like Sean Strickland or somebody. But like most fighters are like very, kind of quiet, and they just, are, very reserved. Sure. But then when the fight happens, they're like, all right, now I can go ahead and show you what I'm made of.
Man, you know what's so funny is like a lot of guys have like a chip on their shoulder, a lot of big guys. We used to go in the gym, and the guys were like bodybuilders or like powerlifters and stuff, and they want to like prove to themselves. And then you got this like little kid who's like 135 pounds just choking them out. Yeah, and don't care. Just kind of like, oh, thanks for I found that like after I started training, I got in less street fights. Actually, getting no street fights after I started training, because like you're like, man, I'm going in here, I'm sparring every day. Like I don't want to get in.
Yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to after that. Yeah, you don't want to afterwards. Yeah, people always think, oh, because you fight, they're like just going to carry over. But like the reality is that you're getting less. Yeah, you're less aggressive in the street. Like you're tired. Like man,
I don't even want to go out. Lay my ass down here. Yeah. So, did you get any street fights?
No, this might shock you, but what you're talking about, I think I wish everybody could just be in a gym for some period of time. Yeah. It teaches a lot of humility. Sure. It shows you that you are not the biggest and the baddest, period, no matter what. And I think a lot of people have never experienced a physical humbling in their life. And they're just nicer when you do. Like, if you notice people that have been in a gym for a long time, there's generally self-confidence, but there's also a more respect for other people. Sure, yeah. That's what I find. Fighters in general, at least, not like the baby ones just come in the hotheads. They kind of get weeded out. But people have been doing this for a long time in the sport. They're a lot more confident and less assholey.
I wanted to ask you this. How many brothers do you have now?
Okay, so I have 5 younger siblings. Wow. 3 brothers. Wow. 2 little
and you ain't get no street fights?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, but see, they've all trained too. I am.
Yeah.
But every single one of them's been trained at some point. Cool. Yeah, so when I got into it, I started with my dad and my oldest little brother. And I was the one who stuck with it, but had Trevor continued, he was infinitely more talented than I was. And then it's kind of the same thing that's repeated itself. I have 2 brothers, I got 3 total, but the 2 ones that are younger, so we came in pairs. It was me and Trevor, Shayler and Aiden, and then Avery and Abigail, all the kids. But Shayler right now is competing and doing very well. Nice. He's still a baby fighter. He's only 19, but he's like 6'4". Fights at 205, can walk at like 240. Wow. But he's 4-0, and he's doing fantastic. Nice. But it's just, when you're doing so well so young, and like you don't have your man strength for a long time, it's an interesting place to be. But he's got infinite potential. Yeah. And then the one after him, Aiden, like, people that are stupid good without trying.
Oh, yeah, we know a bunch.
Yeah. It's frustrating. It's like, just, you don't do shit and you're that good. Why don't you just apply yourself? But if they don't want it, And then the girls, too. The older one, Avery.
She just called her brother out by the way.
I know, yeah.
I did.
Just say, listen to this podcast.
Yeah. You know how frustrating that is, especially when you do it and you see something.
Absolutely.
It's like,
oh, my God.
It's like, I want to strangle you.
Yeah, we know about the siblings for sure.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like, it was hard when you've seen it in teammates, because I've seen it too. Like, even people that have gotten to the UFC level, it's like, dude, you don't train, you show up twice a week, and they're this good. Imagine if you actually applied yourself. Yeah.
Then you see the opposite. You got the guys working their ass off, and they're like barely scraping by trying to get a fight.
I know. Yes. That sucks. Hey, this game is not fair. No. None of it is fair.
You gotta have thick skin.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, extreme natural ability versus extreme hard work.
Perfect.
And sometimes it's together, but yeah.
So what you got going on? Huh? I see you.
What's that?
You riding across country on a bicycle?
I'm doing a lot of broadcast work. So I'm working for the UFC doing the pre-show, the post-show, the broadcast analyst, coaches analyst on the side, and then still doing ESPN West Palm, and then I got a show on Sirius.
That's awesome, man. Shout out to you, by the way, for just taking it from that small little town.
Well, look, hold on, wait a minute. Me, look at you. Look at you. Like we all came up. We all came up together.
Man, you got a little bit over me.
Yeah.
I still got a little bit more years. 'Cause you about how old are you now? Don't worry.
25. I just turned 25.
Yeah, I mean, that's just he colored that.
Yeah.
It wasn't real. But so, how do you like the broadcasting world over the fighting world?
I like it a lot more actually because I'm still involved. And well, I liked fighting, but obviously it was stressful, right?
Of course.
Yeah. But the highs and lows, you had the highs and lows. Like the highs were highs and the lows were lows.
Absolutely.
As a broadcaster, I mean, it's a lot more even keeled, but there's not as much stress.
Yeah.
But the good thing about what I'm doing now, as opposed to like even coaching, is that whatever I put out, I get back, as opposed to like coaching. Because like as a coach, you can put a lot out. And then that fighter just go out there and lay an egg, and you're like, damn, I done put all this work into this. And then, it's terrible. You know how it is. Yeah. So, now I'm just focusing a lot more on things that I can improve on for myself and receive the benefits for me, as opposed to investing in others and waiting. And it's not fair to them neither too, because like at some point I'm living vicariously through them, and then I could be putting pressure on them, and it's not fair to them. So I go, all right. So
that's an interesting take on it.
Yeah,
I think for me, I'm dabbling in both right now. Like obviously I'm coaching, but for the most part running businesses and doing these podcasts, YouTube stuff. I think and also coaching coaches, which is actually has been more of a passion now. Being able to work with those individuals that want to help other people, which is awesome. Because you kind of, at the end of the day, I love fighters. Don't worry, we're gonna work in a little bit. But like with the guys, like I can reach a lot more if I take all of the stuff that I've learned and teach these guys, and then they can work with all their athletes. So now I'm not only just working one-on-one with my guys, then I can work with the guys that are working with all these other girls and guys too as well. But that's good to know, man.
Well, I mean, I'm looking here. I'm jealous. You got the.
Remember I told you I want one of these awards.
Yeah, you got two of them.
One of these.
You got two. I got nominated twice, but I didn't win. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry,
you won twice.
Well, you on ESPN.
Yeah.
Back to back to back. How is it with the guys that are on set with you? Everybody's cool?
Yeah, everybody's cool, man. And I like it because like everybody just kind of minds their own business and focuses on their own thing. And that's cool because like everybody just kind of like before the show starts, everybody's just in their zone, doing their thing, getting prepared. And then all right, action, then it's like, boom, everybody connects. And that's a cool thing to see.
Sure. About Daniel Cormier, is he actually huddling up and
Except for Daniel Cormier. he does his own, he really does his own thing. Like he's always like on the phone, like because he's also a wrestling coach too. So he's constantly this weekend, like he was on the phone the entire weekend.
That's tough, man.
Coaching his kids wrestling. Yeah.
Like a team that you got to coach. That's crazy. But I mean, I think everybody does their job. That job's hard, man. Like being an analyst.
They work hard, man. He's really good at what he does. Like he got a lot of Dominic Cruz kind of came down on him, but Dominic was wrong. Daniel Cormier works hard. He knows what he's doing.
Well, I mean, you shouldn't call somebody out just and that's your boy. Yeah. At the same time, it's kind of could have did it on behind the scenes or something, But I get it. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get into this gym. And we'll make some magic happen, I guess is what we call it. I guess.
Hey, I'm excited.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks again for coming in, doing a podcast, and bringing another film crew with you. Dean, always a pleasure.
My pleasure. We gotta do this more often. Yeah, come in and talk a little bit.
This is the second time you've been on the podcast.
Second time.
Third time on because you did my other podcast.
Yeah, and then you came to my house the one time.
That's true. We did YouTube. We got to do another YouTube.
Yeah.
You got a lot of different podcasts?
I had one that was strictly for MMA.
Okay.
Yeah, so this one is more broad, but we'll keep it going. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you again next time.